Well, rock isn't dead. Gravity Hotel blends post-punk and alt-metal, drawing from Queens of the Stone Age and Alice in Chains. Formed here in Lockhart in 2023, their heavy yet atmospheric performances never disappoint. Inspired by Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, Gravity Hotel delivers raw, dynamic performances and new music here in 2025.
I started working at Sunflower and Friends probably in 2022. I just got to know Chaz and Naomi from working at the coffee shop. I think they're wonderful people. I just really think the world of them, and I think the work they're doing is very important. And I was new in town. I'm playing drums and looking for a gig, so they were nice enough to accommodate me. And so I taught over there for about a year or two, and just a lot of really talented kids in this town, one of whom was named Libby, daughter of Dan Goodman. She's very talented, has great taste in music, loves Nirvana, Foo Fighters, stuff like that. And Dan would come to pick her up after each lesson, so I got to know him. One day he's wearing a Russian Circles t-shirt, and I thought, man, this is my friend right here. This is a good guy to know.
I felt the same. We started connecting about different bands that we kind of had in common, and our big thread was Minus the Bear, obviously, that we kind of connected with. And he's like, there's no way you're the only other person in this town who knows Minus the Bear, and then I love him, you know. So that kind of gave us a connection to, well, let's just see how this goes. And, you know, when we finally did decide to kind of meet and jam, the chemistry was just instant.
I agree. Yeah, Dan's the only guy in town who will mention Minus the Bear and the Mars Volta in the same sentence. So I knew that was my guy. And Dan just has these great leadership abilities. And so he kind of took the lead of forming a group and coming up with names and writing songs. And so, yeah, it all felt like it came together very naturally.
Yeah, and, you know, we had the luxury of having Josh Schaefer, who's one of the few locals that I've ever met. He's still here, local bass player. We met him through Alex Cady. And he was like, this sounds like a really cool, interesting project. I think I might want to sit down on it. And we felt that instant chemistry together. And you know, no egos between all of us, and we were just like, man, this is so rare to have something this organic, this local, you know, because the thought was, are we going to have to grab a musician to fill the gap from Austin and have to worry about logistics and how that's going to work on a weekly practice, you know, where are we going to practice, you know, who's driving where. So it all worked out pretty well. We're just practicing here once a week. And
yeah, and I thought what was really smart when you decided you wanted to start playing music again, you sat down before our first practice and came up with a mission statement. There's this bulleted list of, okay, we wanted to have a driving beat, but we wanted to be groovy. And it was really nice to have those points to kind of anchor ourselves as we're creating, to say, okay, let's get wild and creative, but does it drive? Does it groove? Is it catchy still, even though it's heavy? And having that kind of forethought has really guided us well, I think.
Yeah, thanks. I've often thought that, you know, without a mission statement, how do you know where you're heading? You know, so it's great to always just kind of have in your forefront as you're writing and being creative that you're checking off a couple of core boxes that we all decided on. You know, like if we all have a part ownership in the mission statement, then the corral's pretty big as far as how creative we can get, as long as it's got those boxes checked, yeah.
Yeah, so just infinite gratitude to Sunflower and Friends. They've brought so many people together, and they've helped so many people realize, you know, what a special scene there is in Lockhart. There's just something really magic happening here right now. And it's just a very special moment in time. I feel so grateful to be here, and the scene is burgeoning as we speak. And as we were saying earlier, you know, when we first moved here, it was a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, country blues, which I love, but there wasn't a lot of hard rock, loud, fast, noisy. So it feels really exciting to be kind of at the forefront of blasting people's hair back, you know what I mean? Rest in peace, Arts and Crafts. That was such a special place for this type of music and that type of scene. And Fridays and Saturdays, they would have those types of shows there. So not exactly sure where the movement's going next. Load Off Fannies is a great spot for loud, fast type of music. But if the musicians are here, we'll find a way.
Yeah. So we had been throwing around a couple of different options of band names. And one of the ones that I came up with was from 2001: A Space Odyssey, a Kubrick movie. And I was always fascinated with these parts of the movies where they were traveling in a spaceship to Jupiter, and they're in these big, missions, and inside these spaceships were these hotels in the background of, like, you'd see like Hilton, in the background, you see like a Howard Johnson sign inside the spaceship. And I was just thinking that's just so unique and interesting way to look at a future, because I think this movie was in the 68 or 69 or something. And for him to have that kind of thought process that far long ago, and just to imagine that, like, you're going to need hotels in space. Yeah, like eventually, because that's just the wave of travel is that. I thought that was a really cool concept, and we were throwing around words, and I was like, Gravity Hotel, it sounds got a nice little fun ring to it, and it's kind of an homage to that Kubrick film scene. And I said it, and both Josh and Danny were pretty high on that.
Yeah, I really responded to it. It definitely made me think of Stanley Kubrick. Gravity made me think of that movie with Sandra Bullock, which I love. And the hotel part made me think of The Shining. So right off the bat, Gravity Hotel, you hear it, it's got kind of a sci-fi, almost horror type of connotation to it. And Dan's really run with that. And if you listen to the lyrics, Dan is such a storyteller, and each song kind of is a, each song kind of paints a picture. And
Right.
So you definitely get these sci-fi moments as you listen to the song, and these horror moments. We've got a song about a vampire. We've got a song about a witch. And so, I don't know, it's kind of hearkening back to like the Misfits. I mean, how many songs did they have about ghouls and the undead? We're both fans of My Chemical Romance. They have songs about vampires. And so there's kind of this fun storytelling element to it. We're trying to, paint a picture. He's serious about the storytelling, but also we're at the same time not trying to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think anyone who's a fan of Stanley Kubrick would be a fan of the thematic imagery of our music.
Yeah, if they definitely got involved in the lyrics of the songs, I think they'd find it a lot of irony in that field of that industry. And for me, like, I've always been a really big fan of vocalists who write things that you can easily picture what it is they're talking about. In a visual sense, you're hearing what they're singing about, and you can immediately envision what that scene looks like. For me, I don't have a great memory. So for me, like, when I write lyrics, I'm thinking that I need to write in that manner so I can visually see it to remember the vocals for later.
Smart.
And it kind of just worked out that way. And yeah, it's been fun to show these guys in practices when we're writing these songs, like what my visual image of what the storyline is for the song, and then they kind of take it and run with it, with the music's part.
Yeah, so it's nice. It gives you some imagery as you're listening to kind of wrap your head around the subject matter, but I also feel like it's reflective of something that is more relatable to, I think a lot of your songwriting comes from being a father and looking at the world in its current state, the prospect of nuclear war or school shootings, that we put this kind of sci-fi twist on it, but the subject matter is actually still very important and artistically fulfilling.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I write about are very conducive to my normal daily life. And we have a song that's coming out it's called Bullet in the China Shop, and it's essentially the fears of being a parent, having to send your child to school every day. And now that we have the type of environment that we have with handguns, and it's just it's a scary moment. I mean, to have to think every single day, is my kid coming home today? So, we typically don't write too heavy of subject matter, but this was something that has been on my mind for a long time, and the words just kind of flew out because I've been thinking about it so much, and it kind of stuck. And so, I mean, we're probably not too heavy in terms of an entire set list of originals, just heavy material, but there are certain pointed things that I wanted to get across as a band. And
Yeah, I think from one song to the next, the goal is to entertain, but also the goal is to make you think and make you feel and reflect on, what you may be going through in your own life. So yeah, from one song to the next is kind of a different story each time, but sure to pull you into Dan's world.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, appreciate it. You guys have a good one.